Hi, this week we are starting a class simulation where I'm asking you to persuade each other, and I have assigned each of you a stakeholder role in a hypothetical school system. I'm asking you to persuade each other to adopt the program, the curriculum you have designed in this course. And so I will begin my lecture this week with talking about some of the NCRP skills and tools that can be used for persuasion. I will continue this over the next couple of weeks. I was about to say 3. I think it might be two more weeks after this, as you are attempting to persuade each other. Now, I've noticed some of you seem quite busy and you're not on Blackboard quite as much as I'd like to see you interacting with each other. I have requested that you try to visit your class at least every other day during this simulation. I do appreciate, though, how busy many of you are juggling full work, family, travel schedules. And I do appreciate the beauty of distance education is you get to log on your terms when at whatever time is handy for you. We don't set up a specific structure for that reason. So I would like to give you a fallback option if for some reason you're just not able to check in regularly with your classmates. Now, I'd like to ask you, if you don't check in every other day, to let your classmates know when you will be checking in, when you are available, and to be in communication with them. But if you're not able to do it every other day, then I'm going to ask you to take the time in the real school system that you have been assessing for the purpose of this course. Take the time to try to persuade the person, actually the people in this simulation, in that actual school system, using the NCRP tools that I will be emphasizing each week. And I'd like you to report back and tell us all how your attempt at persuading them to adopt your program goes. This week, I would like to focus on interest analysis and reframing as the skills. Now, if you have learned anything in reading and doing the activities in Holding These Truths, my workbook, it's how to do interest analysis and reframe positions and demands to identify the underlying needs and interests. Now, you should have been introduced to this in Negotiation Tactics, NCR 522. And you should, I would say, be practicing this in every course. You really can't mediate without helping parties reframe their positions and help them understand their underlying needs and interests. You simply can't do it. You can listen actively, you can do ground rules, you can be a very nice person, but unless you're able to go into underlying needs and interests, you're not able to proceed with creative problem solving. There are a few other ways to do creative problem solving, but this is one of the primary tools. And I'm going to stress it for persuasion because in my experience, it has worked incredibly well in some of the most contentious situations. The Going Postal case study that you read in Holding These Truths, I relied on thorough interest analysis. With an angry person, interest analysis and reframing can be very potent, but it's also incredibly persuasive even if the person is very civil, very calm, you have a good relationship with each other, but they just aren't on board with whatever you're attempting to persuade them to do, whatever you're proposing that you want them to back and support. Let me give you a case study example. Early on in my career, I was working with K through 12, and I was working with the adults who worked within K through 12 with a particular focus on middle school. And middle school and sex education normally go hand in hand for obvious reasons. So I was asked to persuade a group of parents and other adults to proceed with sex education for their middle schoolers. Now, this might not have been a tough persuasion except for the religious beliefs of several of these adults. Several were conservative Christians who did not believe in sex education in the schools and were fairly resistant to the idea of sex education, period. So how did I persuade them? I tried to put myself in their shoes, and I asked myself, what is most important to me? And one of the answers was the parent-child relationship. Parents being able to impart values to their children. Okay, I'm going on with these underlying needs. Their demand, their position was no sex education, particularly no sex education in the schools. So I'm trying to reframe this and understand underlying needs. And I'm thinking, okay, their ability to have a close relationship with their child where they're able to influence their child as to their values in relation to sex education is important. And in order to meet this interest of building a close, influential relationship, they need to have the best possible parent-child communication skills, particularly parent-child adolescent communication skills. And by understanding underlying needs and interests, I was able to persuade this group of adults, including the conservative Christians, that by learning to improve their communication skills, their relationship skills with their children, they were preparing themselves to be the sex educators for their children. I was even able to persuade them to include as part of their education on communication and relationship skills some sex education modules so they could talk to their adolescents, answer their adolescents' questions. Very powerful, and it is what I want you to be practicing with each other or with the school stakeholders that you need to persuade regarding your program. I will be encouraging you to develop and practice your NCRP skills for the remainder of this course, because I know in a master's program you learn a lot of different skills, you learn a lot of language. It's pretty impressive what you have learned by the time you graduate from this course. And by that I mean from this master's degree. But you don't necessarily have the opportunity, except for an occasional simulation, to practice these skills and learn how powerful they are in many different situations, personal and professional. Now, despite this, many of you do try out these skills and discover how incredible they are, how transformational they can be. Please share with each other your experiences. And for those of you who are actively mediating right now, I hope you will share even more about what skills you are using in mediations that really make a difference. Because learning to walk the talk of NCRP is the most magical, awesome result of earning this master's. You know, people will be impressed with your master's degree, but will be even more impressed when you're able to effectively persuade them, show them a skill that they've never experienced before. And in doing so, you're helping to spread our field, to share its potential, its value to different communities. Good luck with doing that this week.